Hello and welcome to the Phoenix 5 Info Show. I'm your host, Lieutenant Vince Lewis, coming to you once again from Phoenix Police Headquarters in beautiful downtown Phoenix, joined again by my co-host, PIO Sgt. Rob Scherer. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, boss. Good to be here.
Let's hit it. Briefing book. What happened?
Briefing book. Earlier this week, a crime, I don't want to say near and dear to my heart, but a sort of investigation.
You're very well experienced in this topic.
Yeah, I've done this once or twice. We had a robbery south of the freeway, south of the 10 at 51st Avenue. Essentially, out in the open air, a couple of people hanging out in a parking lot. Multiple adult males, presumed, pulled up in a car, jumped out, all masked, pointed guns, took the property and took off. Officers responded, did what they did, collected surveillance video, and now it's off to detectives.
So from a detective's perspective or a supervisor's perspective, what are you guys looking for as investigators?
Right when we get there, obviously, video's huge. It's robbery. Inherently, it's a serial-based crime. This took probably all of 45 seconds. 45 seconds for any sort of return makes sense to any sort of human being. So they're going to do it again if they haven't done it before. That's our next priority, is trying to find those links, those other cases, because the more cases we have, the more probability of evidence that can lead us to these guys and ultimately solve it.
Okay. So we have most of our patrollers out there in cars.
Yeah.
We do have an elite unit of individuals who ride motorcycles. We call them motors. We have two of them here today with us. You might recognize them from some of our promotional materials out there, but I want to introduce our special guests, Officer Tatge and Officer Causby from the Motors unit. So we're talking about armed robberies, responding to hot calls and things like that, and riding a bike presents a different dynamic. Tell us about your experience so far on being out there and stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, if we're in the area and there's a robbery that comes out and it's something that we can get to safely, obviously we don't have a lot of cover on a motorcycle. The dynamics are very much different. But if we can provide more information to patrol on the street, whether it's direction of travel or if we have eyes on the suspect, we're able to get that information out or help any other way we can.
So you guys you're still, I know you're the traffic, you enforce traffic laws. That's your primary function. But you guys are still, if this happens right down the street, like you said, you guys are still rolling. You guys go back into that old school, second week on, let's get after something. When you get to a violent crime like this, what are some of the things you guys are initially looking for?
Initially, we're looking for what dispatch may have put out as far as the description of the suspect or the vehicle or anything like that. That way we can arrive safely to the scene. And then we're going to try to make contact with anybody else who may have been involved, like victims or witnesses who may be on scene, but primarily just getting there safely.
Awesome. And then obviously you guys are such a unique asset, because you guys, obviously, I can't fathom not having the cover of an engine. That is sketchy in and of itself.
So my dad was a motor for several years. It was back in the 90s. And my first dad, I won't do it.
Yeah, I can't fathom
even being
going down the street and the lack of safety I would feel being on a bike. So it's unique and it's elite just in and of that. But say something like a parking lot like this. You're going in. There's multiple people around. How can you guys safely approach something like that's a whole different dynamic for you guys on a bike? What are differences you guys are thinking about on a bike than maybe me sitting in a big old Tahoe and feeling really comfortable and secure?
I think primarily the training that we've gone through in motor school, it prepares you for a lot of stuff. You don't really realize that until you're on the street and then you actually respond code 3 to something, maybe like a violent crime or something like that. But you have the confidence to get through the terrain of the parking lot. We've trained using with our firearms in and around the bicycle or our bike. So that's something that gives me a lot of confidence as well. So I think about that if I were to have to respond to something.
All right, awesome. Well, coming up next, we're going to talk about new registrations, new ordinances, and things dealing with e-bikes, e-scooters, and motor-driven cycles. Those are those pocket bikes and things like that look like motorcycles. We treat them like motorcycles, but we're going to get down and dirty on some of the details and, like I said, the ordinances and so forth on that. So that's coming up next, so stick around.
I'm a busy mom. I'm also a Phoenix police officer devoted to keeping our community safe.
I'm a Little League coach. And I'm a Phoenix police detective and a part of the team here too.
Find endless career options with one of America's best large employers.
We're here talking with the members of the Elite Motor Unit. Officer Tatge and Causby, welcome back to the show. We're going to talk about a sensitive topic up in my neighborhood. I live up in District 2 in the Desert Ridge area, and I know this is a sensitive topic. We're paying a lot of attention to it. In fact, you can go through one of our recent Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee hearings where they give Commander Myers, who was from the traffic unit, gives an update on where we're at with the new registrations, laws, ordinances, and things like that governing the use of the electric scooters, electric bicycles, and motor-driven cycles. What do you want to know from our experts on?
Yeah, so obviously the importance is huge, and I think one thing we'll hear from you guys throughout this next segment is, we're leading with that education, and it's really based on making sure, predominantly the kids, and these kids, I don't want to be that old dude saying everybody's bunch of
We
kids.
got to protect the children.
Yeah, we're protecting kids on this, and it's kind of a unique thing, really. You guys are traffic enforcement. That's what you do. You go out, you find violations, you issue citations, you go find more violations. Is this a different concept for someone like you that's out there attempting to find those violations? But really, you guys, I know I'm talking to you yesterday, it's kind of a unique element and kind of cool. You guys are going out and educating with that purpose of making sure these kids that probably don't know any different, the parents probably don't know any different. Speak to a little bit of that before we get into kind of the parameters and kind of those differences of all the bikes and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so right now we're trying to do a lot of outreach or community outreach and education within Phoenix, because there's been a rise of e-bikes and scooters on our streets, become very popular with juveniles. And just with my experience in making contact with parents after we've made contact with juveniles in the roadway on their e-bikes or even on the sidewalk. And they just are completely unaware of the rules and regulations. So it's important to know all that for safety reasons. There's been an uptick in injuries and things like that. So,
Officer Causby, what do you want us to know about these devices, these platforms, these modes of transportation?
Primarily we want everybody to be safe. And then if kids are going to use them, we want them to do it safely. But we need them to know that they're not allowed to operate them on sidewalks. So the e-bikes not allowed to be on sidewalks. The scooters not allowed to operate those on sidewalks as well. And also the motor-driven cycles, we see that a lot. You're not allowed to operate those on the sidewalk because it's unsafe.
And we say kids, but we're talking about operators. They have to be a certain age, don't they?
Yes. So 16 years old.
For all three devices, you have to be 16 years or older.
Yes.
Yeah, which is, problem. It's probably a problem. I don't want to say problem. It's probably something that's happening in every neighborhood. And I see these little tykes that you're like, and they're flying. Some of these things I saw, in our PSJ demonstration, we're talking 20, 28 miles an hour, if not more on some of these. And I don't think anybody really understands, us and the beauty of sitting in our car. You're going 45, you really don't comprehend how fast you're going and how much it takes to stop. And now you're asking these teenagers to see something, go, oh, that's dangerous, and stop something, even that's going 20 miles an hour. The potential of injury in those cases, and I've seen it in my neighborhood itself, is pretty wild. And, I think it's just hugely important to notify these parents, like in this, that's a huge education campaign that we're starting with.
Yeah, so you guys are familiar now that you're on two wheels. Everybody else on these devices, they're out on two wheels. Even slow speed can result in injury, right? And you've seen that, right?
Yeah, so there are a lot of injuries. I think there was a fatality recently as well, so it is very important. A lot of times with children or juveniles that are on these don't have any training. So even if they're 16, they haven't gone through driver education or anything like that. So we recommend that as well, because it kind of gives you a base on the rules and regulations on the streets and what to expect when you're driving, things like that.
So e-scooters and e-bikes, just real quick, you have to be 16 or older, and you cannot ride them on the sidewalk. But there's a different dynamic now with the pocket bikes, so that we call them the motor-driven cycles. Yes. There's no pedals; it's just pegs, right? Exactly. So that we consider them a motorcycle. Yes. So what does that mean now that you need?
They need a driver license, the registration for the vehicle, and insurance as well. So you have to have your motorcycle endorsement if you're going to operate those.
You need a plate on the back too.
Yes.
So if I got my son one of these pocket bikes or things like that, he's now riding a motorcycle.
Yeah, yeah, and the liability that kind of that again kid that teenager predominantly is owning on the parents' behalf is pretty wild. You're talking I wasn't a big ticket guy back in my good old days of being out there, but this is something you guys do. Like, you guys can start loading up that pack significantly, liability-wise, for the parents. Again, we're going through that education period. It's not blanketed to where we're not going to write any citations, but you guys are going to be out there. Explain, like, say you guys pull over, you see this while you're out doing what you do, and you see it, and you get this, this teenager to pull over. Where are you going from that point? What kind of resources as a department are we pushing out to where you guys, you can push some of this education to the families, to the parents?
Yeah, where can you go for information?
Yeah, so I believe we're going to be passing out some pamphlets within the schools and SROs. We're going to hopefully put up some postage or signage in areas that is needed. We'll have a QR code that you can scan. It will take you to our phoenix.gov website, and it will actually go over all the laws and regulations and in detail through our website.
And this is a good one to give to the schools, right?
Yes.
So through our SROs, they can help educate some of those people too. So real quick, answer me this. Can you get DUI on a bicycle?
Not a bicycle.
Okay, but you shouldn't ride it. Inebriated.
Oh,
You should ride it. But can you
not
get,
recommended.
Can you get DUI on a pocket bike or a like motor-driven cycle?
Yes.
Okay, so that's important to know.
Yeah, and then obviously, kind of the final component, the scooters, I think I'm calling them, right? The little scooters we have downtown that you can rent and stuff. This is included in some of those, or some of this education also, like our downtown officers. These guys that are getting downtown, which they're pretty convenient, I'm not going to lie. Same kind of rules comply with some of those things also, right?
Yes. And what you see all the time, people are just having fun, which we understand that, but you got to do it safely. There's people who are on the sidewalk, and then if you're on the scooter going super fast, you might end up colliding with someone.
So what we want to make sure people don't misunderstand is that although they are convenient for tourists and people out having fun, I mean, I use them in Washington, D.C., New York City, Chicago, those types of places to get around, but it's not a viable alternative when you're out having some drinks and partying with some friends. Don't consider that an alternative method. To get home, we want you to call for ride share or have a designated driver and things like that. So that's probably something that's else.
Yeah,
you
we
consider.
appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. Safety component's huge. Good educational campaign. Let's make sure our kids are taken care of.
Perfect. All right. Hey, I want to thank my guests, Officer Tatge, Officer Causby. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Another great show. Yeah. Thank my co-host. I want to thank the crew for producing. Remind the viewers you can catch the video versions of these shows on our YouTube channel. And hey, just want to remind you, you too can help solve crime in your community by sending tips to Silent Witness. Visit silentwitness.org or call 480-WITNESS. Follow us on all social media platforms. We are hiring. Go to joinphxpd.com. And until next time, remember, we want you to be safe out there. So catch another episode and we'll talk more safety. Be safe out there.